Well, it is the next day. As promised, we got the cylinders and the base gasket glued on. Cylinders, gasket cinched together. Obviously, we don't have the studs or the heads or any of the head parts. Got the head back. Like I said, I was going to do a quick little port on this, and by porting, I mean just knocking down some of the big high spots. So, far from perfect, but significantly better than it was. None of the huge sand casting marks. Just did a real quick hone on, or not hone, but real quick port job on that. Knocked everything down, smoothed it out. Probably 20 minutes. Just a super quick clean up on that. Exhaust ports didn't really address the exhaust all that much. Should have, but this motor's got to go back together because I am running out of time and need to assemble this stupid iron head bin of junk. So tonight's goal is to start reassembling all of these. I did also, off camera, when I did the porting on the cylinders, I also lapped the valves to the back side of the valves. Those are ready to go. Quick and easy, nothing too crazy there. Just took some lapping compound, put it on the back of the valve. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look at the Ford video stuff. It's a Ford small block V8, 50302, doesn't really matter. Same principle applies. Basically, took the valve on the Ford video. I think I actually chucked it up into a drill, like the top side of the valve, and spun them forward, back, just kind of recut the seat on there. On this one, used the old school wood handled tool. I wanted to do it, but it took forever, and I was at the shop and didn't have my tripod or a mic or anything else to walk you through that. But, box of head parts down here on the floor, right over there. Rest of the head parts here. We're going to start laying this back together and see if we can get, I don't know if the head's going to go on tonight, but I will at least try and get most of the stuff laid in. So, let me turn you guys around, stick around. We will build a Honda CB350F head. Okay, all the parts laid out. I got the exhaust valves and intake valves. Everything's kind of recut here, re-cleaned up. No more carbon on them. Still a little oil. We'll just wipe all that off. Not a big deal. Intake and exhaust, everything's laid out. First thing I'm going to do is reassemble the valve train. Get the valves and the little top hats and the little retainers all pressed back into the head. Then we will start worrying about the cam and the oilers and the squirters and the chain guides and all of those other fun things, but we'll start with the valves. Okay, so the head is fully powder coated. This is all just dirty from the degrease tank. Didn't give it a thorough wipe down yet, but a little quick hit with the rag. Everything comes right off like it's supposed to. Nice silver again. Like I said, quick down and dirty. Exhaust ports are facing out now, so this is going to be cylinder number 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way across. And we're going to do that in that order. I got the valve tool kind of out underneath all of this stuff, so we can get that a little bit more set up, and then we will start assembly. Now, I'm only giving you the visual from this side. Maybe I'll do 2 of these. Like I said, this is going to be number 1, 2, 3, 4. So I grab the number 1 exhaust valve. We are going to run these through. A little drop of oil won't hurt here. Not going to go crazy on this at all. Just going to drop it right on the valve. Way more than I actually need. But that will clear this out. You can also run a little Q-tip or a brush through here. That would help quite a bit too. Now, when we are dealing with the exhaust, we have 2 collars on Hondas. You got your small washer, which is your inner, like so, and your big washer that's going to ride on top of the aluminum. 2 springs, inside and outside. And we have our retainer. I'm going to set that off to the side for now. And I gotta grab my tool, which is already still set up from when we took all of these apart. This side will go on the valve, like so. This will come up here on the collar side. Then I need the collar back that I just set over on the other thing. Snug this up, get a little tension first, and then I can start messing around with snugging these in and dropping the retainers in. Like I said, on the exhaust valves, if you watch the intake teardown video, this was a little bit easier. I think I lost my retainer. I'm using a center punch right now. That's fine. I'll snug this down a little bit, try and keep it semi-centered. I like having this window kind of squared up to the top. I think it's a little bit easier. Drop all of your stuff. It's more fun that way. But here's the little retainers. Drop this one in on the lower side. And these are cut. Hopefully this shows up on camera. If you can see the taper there. Taper's down towards the bottom. The taper goes to the bottom of the head, like so. And once I drop my tool, I'll grab the other one. Little pick here or a magnet might actually help quite a bit. You can grease these. I would recommend that. I did not in this scenario. But we'll see how gravity works today. A little bit of grease on the end of the valve here will hold this in place a little bit better. Then we'll grab whatever round piece I have, since I keep losing these, and start backing this off. The lower keeper does keep falling out here. This is why you do want to use a little bit of grease. Right on the end of this. Drop your little tiny parts everywhere. This is going to fight me the whole way. Alright, grease method. Grab some. A little bit of grease right here on a screw, because I'm just grabbing whatever I got readily available to me. A little bit on the inside of this. On the keeper. Like so. A little bit more on the other one. Valves are always kind of a pain. It's not a hard job, but you do want to keep everything semi-squared up. Right now, I got the one keeper in, the other keeper is kind of fighting me and walking all over the place. So we'll set that one on the top side, bring this back over, just make sure it stays aligned. Like I said, these are a tapered fit, so if you got to walk this tool a little bit, especially when you're using crappy Amazon tools like I am, just need to verify it's going in where it's supposed to. Like that. And we'll back this out. Like so. There's one assembled valve. This is much easier if you have a vise that kind of cocks this a little bit more, but if we look at this now, valve, spring, retainers, everything else is in. Valve is closed, like that. Your little retainers are in the chamfer. Valve spring comes up when you take the load off and locks this in place. I'm going to probably, actually, guaranteed, the rest of this will be a time lapse on the exhaust valves. Watch the struggle in fast forwarded real time. Okay, so we got the exhaust valves installed all the way across. Obviously, I'm going to time lapse the whole thing. I'm not going to edit anything. It's just going to be a straight cut. But if you're paying attention, two of them were a lot more stubborn than the other two. The other two went really quick. So that's kind of what you're dealing with, especially like this. It would have been substantially easier if I did not have this chucked up into a vise like it is currently, because gravity wants everything to drop. So I do have a tub of grease here. If you noticed in the video, all I did was take either a nail or a pick or something, grease up the end of the valve to kind of hold the keepers in place. Same approach on the intake, but we'll try again, and hopefully this one goes a little bit quicker. This is about the point where I realized that I didn't put the valve seals on, so that is going to happen right now. The valve seals, I believe on this one, went on the intake? Yep, intake valves. So I'm going to put them on these two. These outer two that I've already put together are going to have to come back off just so I can throw the valve seals on. I think the gasket kit that I bought has those, so let me open those up. We'll be right back. The new valve seals out of the gasket kit. That one's pressed on. I'll show you how to do that on the next one. It's repetitive, all of this, times 4. on the intake, ×4 on the exhaust. But got this one slip fit on here. Keep them greased now, especially going through a seal, like so. This valve's good to go. Now, lay out the rest, get this kind of queued up. Process is exactly the same. The only difference is now there is also a seal on here as well. So get it queued up, drop this into the valve pocket. The intakes are a lot easier because the center hole in the valve is substantially bigger, which means it tends to grab on a little bit better as well. So right here, we got it started there. Ooh, don't want that to happen. That's how you shoot things across the shop. But now we're in the valve on both sides. We'll just keep putting the tappets back in, or the retainers. It gets a little goofy when you're doing these, especially if you've never done this before. You would think that once you get the valves kind of in, let's see if I can get you a better angle here. Working through the camera right now, so that's kind of a pain on my end, but I think this is a much better visual. You would think if you crank this down tighter, it'd be a little bit easier. It's really not true. So now those are seated. If you look, you can see that they're underneath the valve. It is a little bit different on a Honda because these are not crazy tight in terms of tolerances. But overall, that is what you want. Sorry, I lost my train of thought while I was talking. It seems like you would want to crank the springs way tight and it'll give you a lot more room. It's not always the case, but we're going to do a little bit of grease in there, a little bit of grease on the outside for the seal. Grab the new valve. Grease up the valve too, why not, right? A little bit of lube can't hurt nothing. Might smoke a little and make a little bit of noise, vice versa. Not noise. I'm just going to stop talking. I'm losing my mind today. It's been a long one. I'm just in a rush to try and get some of this done. So with the valve seals, I like to put a little bit of grease on the outside of this to help work this on here. And these will slip right on over. Valve will slide through. Also grease the back side of the valve because you don't want a valve dry rubbing on this seal. A little bit of grease is all you need to keep that fluid and moving freely. Big washer, little washer, valve springs, top hat, valve compressor, What I was trying to say earlier is it seems like if you compress the spring harder, it'd be easier to get these tappets to fall in, or the little retainers to fall in. It's not always the case. If you go too far, they'll try and walk around on you a ton. If you don't go far enough, they won't seat where they need to. It's a real fine line. I don't know how much of this is going to show up on camera, but right now I'm pretty happy with where these are at currently. I'm going to hold this one with my thumb a little bit while I start pulling pressure off. Can't see it. Pull my thumb, get a visual. Those are sinking down into the lifter bores. Hopefully that shows up on camera. Then we'll walk it out the rest of the way. There we have it. So now I'm not going to film these two, but I am going to pop these two out, put the valve seals in. I messed up on that one. Live and learn. So we'll drop the new valve seals on this, and when I come back, this will all be assembled in terms of the valves into the head. Well, here we are. Grease is out, assembly lube is out, all sorts of things, valve spring compressor. Everything is kind of done on this now. But at the end of the day, valves are all in. New valve seals are installed on the intake ports. Got you facing the exhaust. Let me turn you around real quick. So, the valve springs are all installed along the intake valves, so we should be good to go on that. As far as I can tell, that's the only ones that had them, and that's the only one that has the machined lip for the valve seals. If I'm wrong on that, not that big of a deal. I don't run valve seals on my Harley stuff. Never had to, never had any issue. On a fresh rebuild, it shouldn't really smoke too much through the valve seals anyway. But that's where we're gonna go on this one. So valve train is reassembled. Obviously I still have all of the oil passages, the dowel pins, and all the other miscellaneous things to get this together. It's getting late. That's gonna wrap up this video. So you got the cylinder or piston ring install video. You're gonna have the cylinder hone video, which actually I think came before the piston ring. So you got a cylinder hone video on how to prep the cylinders. You got a piston ring video on how to put those back on, luckily, without breaking them. Fingers crossed if you're doing it yourself for the first time. It sucks, it's tedious, be careful, be gentle. Then we got the cylinder glued on last night, so that was good. Now, the rest of the head needs to be reassembled. Technically, I'm trying to think now. I should actually be able, if I wanted to throw the head gasket on and drop that on right now, I probably could. The valve train, the cam, all of that can go on after the fact. Timing, that's going to be a fun video when we figure out how to time this thing. But that is where we're going to leave off tonight. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you're interested in any of the Honda stuff. If you're here for the Harley stuff and you're wondering why this Honda's on the lift and I'm doing 4-cylinder old Honda things, it's because this bike needs to get done, or at least the motor needs to get put back together before we can start getting back into the stuff I thoroughly enjoy. And I wanted a new project for the winter. Now I have too many projects for the winter, but when I signed up to do all of this, seemed like a really good idea. That's where we're at. Stick around if you enjoy any of the videos. I got a playlist going on the Honda rebuild. Also have a playlist going on the chopper that this motor is going to get built for, even though it might not go on the bike first. And one more, the Phoenix playlist, is going to have all of the more performance-oriented iron head stuff over there. That motor is most likely going to go in the chopper. This motor is more than likely just going to get slapped together, get it put back in the frame that's on the ground over there, put that back together since I've been stealing parts off of it, and get that one running driving. Then I'll flip-flop the motors back and forth depending on what happens down the line. So thanks for watching. Like I said, I'm rambling. Have a good one. We'll catch you on the next one.